Wait a minute. What do you mean by 2 security systems? I mean the security cameras and the ID card reader. I reckon even a cowpoke like you knows about those. Yes, well, what about the fingerprint-activated locks on the evidence lockers? Fingerprint-activated locks? What kind of newfangled doohickeys are those? He's not being very helpful. He's not that good with machines, or following orders. Everyone's got their weaknesses now, don't they, Mr. Prosecutor? This one seems like trouble. Okay, Mr. Wright, he's all yours. He's going to be a problem. Yeah, you deal with him. Job is to keep a wary eye on that bone orchard. I mean, if in doubt, I think just press and see what we get. How exactly did you keep an eye on the evidence room? I just made sure nothing moved in the security camera monitor. That room's so still. Even time dies in there. I was just a caretaker who interred the records. You interred them? Videos of nothing ain't that useful. When the time would come, I'd erase the tape. Nothing unusual was recorded. Tapes are to be erased every 6 hours. Each time I'd erase the tape, it felt like I was erasing a part of my life. This guy has a flair for the dramatic, but it isn't going to do him any good. So in actuality, you don't physically enter the evidence room? I know. They said I was supposed to make rounds 3 times a day, but that ain't my style. But you made your rounds on the day of the crime, right? Ain't you heard a word I said, partner? I told you that ain't my style. So how many times did you go in? I'm afraid I don't understand. No desperado I know lets rules get in his way. No desperados I know join the police force. So, Officer Marshall, on the day of the crime. Just between you and me, I didn't set foot in the evidence room that day. There was a rubber glove stuck in the victim's locker. Do you know anything about that? Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. He didn't go in. We know he did. We know that there's a fingerprint. I haven't been in that crypt in weeks. How does this guy avoid being fired? But we know that's not true. That's not true. If I remember right, I was at Streetside Saloon at the time it went down. I can't... But we know that he went in. From the fingerprint. Two security systems. You used to be a detective, so you've used the evidence room in the past, correct? Of course. Back in the day, my locker was a gold mine of evidence. And yet, you didn't know about the fingerprint locking mechanism? Sorry, partner. I ain't good with machines. I couldn't even tell you how a bike works. It's quite incredible. The sensors on the locker handles cannot be seen. It's well known that some detectives are unaware of their presence. Now that you mentioned it, Detective Gumshoe said something like that too. At any rate, it doesn't seem that this is relevant to the crime. Can you tell us what you were doing when the crime took place? Okay, I'm going to save. And then I'm going to try and present this, because we know it's his. Officer Marshall, doesn't it strike you as odd? That is, you being called in to testify like this? After all, you weren't in the security room at the time of the crime. And yet you dragged me down here. Explain yourself, partner. It's quite simple. You left a very large trail behind at the scene. Or to be exact, a handprint. Listen real good, partner. Like I said, I'm the caretaker of that crypt. I pay my respects. I make my rounds about once a month. It's only natural my fingerprints would be in there. I only wish it were, officer. But you see, your fingerprints were covered in blood. Witness, what's the meaning of this? Your blood-stained fingerprints were at the crime scene? The blood was wiped away, however. A luminol test clearly revealed this. Well, Officer Marshall? Seems to me there ain't a person in this room with a head on his shoulders. I take it you have an explanation then, Officer Marshall? About the blood-stained fingerprints? Very well, you may begin your testimony about your fingerprints. Found at the scene of the crime. Okay. Like I said, it's only natural for my fingerprints to be in the evidence room. One of them just happened to be at the same place as the blood-stained handprint. The murderer touched the locker where my fingerprint was by chance. The bloodstain and the fingerprint, completely unrelated. Or didn't you know the murderer was wearing gloves? See? I had nothing to do with it. The witness's explanation appears valid, although there's room for doubt. Life wouldn't be fun without any doubt, partner. How do you know that he had gloves? The defense may now cross-examine the witness. This guy is hiding something. I can feel it. Now's my chance to prove it. Uh-oh. Do I have to prove it? It's only natural for my fingerprints to be in the evidence room. I mean, that's true. One of those happened to be at the same place as the bloodstained handprint. He touched the locker where my fingerprint was by chance. They're unrelated. How do you know he was wearing gloves? Yeah, how do you know that? I may be a loner, but I still do my job. Keep up on the reports. There was a bloodstain at the scene, thought to be left by the murderer. That's right. It was found on Detective Gumshoe's locker. However, no fingerprints were detected on that handprint. Oh yeah, I think we tried that too. So that would mean the murderer, wearing gloves, happened to place their hand on top of Officer Marshall's fingerprint. It's the only logical conclusion. Can't let him squirm out of this one. We've got to find something decisive to tie Officer Marshall to the crime. So that's not going to be... Yeah. Okay, let's press and see if something comes up then. That's because you... How did you put it? Pay your respects once a month? Yeah, that's right. That and one more thing. That locker happens to be my locker. What? What do you mean? I mean what I said. That's the locker I used when I was a detective. The locker I still use. All that's in there now, though, is a heap of broken dreams. I see. It'd be strange if my prints weren't all over that locker. Apparently his fingerprint data was never removed from that locker's programming. Oh, he must have been using the fingerprint lock all this time without even knowing it. Marshall's fingerprints updated in the court record. Are you starting to get the picture, partner? The picture? Yes. The seal of blood. In the desert, it's just food for the buzzards. There's only one reality, and that's this. The security tape. As long as my trail isn't in there, you can't say otherwise. This isn't getting us anywhere, Mr. Wright. Please consider carefully where you're going with this cross-examination. Yes, Your Honor. Now then, continue your testimony, Officer Marshall. Okay. I'm going to save again. Because this one... Let's press with the video then. Yeah, it's like if you say that's the only evidence I can use. What? He is in it! Boo! Whoa! If the key evidence of last time was he opened the locker, why can't I That's stupid. Hey, oh, it was definitely Goodman because his door opened. Bloodstain and the fingerprints are completely unrelated. Okay, one of them just happened to be at the same place. I'm really confused. Because it's clear that that locker got opened. I'm really confused now because it seems like it's further at... I think I've jumped ahead. So then, what about the bloody handprint? Wasn't mine. It's no mystery. Please explain. My locker is covered with my fingerprints. It just so happened... The murderer... Okay. The chances of that happening are 1,000,000 to 1. On the contrary, one could argue just the opposite. The chances of that not happening are 1,000,000 to 1. Get one thing straight, partner. You ain't gonna get no reward for me with a mere fingerprint. You wanna know why? Bloodstain and the fingerprint are completely unrelated. Unrelated? They're as different as night and day. Kinda like cereal and cereal. One's got to do with breakfast, while the other's a type of murder. He's right. Although seemingly alike, they're totally different. I mean, it could be also TV. I don't see what homonyms have to do with this. Didn't you know the murderer was wearing gloves? Oh, how do you know that? Yes, okay, yeah. We've already proved this. Yes, we've seen this. If only I could fast forward over other things, not just the video. That would mean the murderer wearing gloves happened to place his hand, blah, blah, blah. Too bad it wasn't me in that video, right, partner? What do you mean by that? You want to tie me to this crime, isn't that right, partner? If so, that video is the only direct evidence you have. But that video is next to useless, it's full of blind spots. Blind spots? Places you can't see. The camera's panning back and forth. The floor isn't shown. If someone was familiar with the camera's position, they could leave the room without being caught on tape. We don't have time for your speculations, Mr. Wright. Well, Mr. Wright, if you can show us evidence in this video that indicates Officer Marshall was present... I just tried to do this. Very well. Allow me to point out your mistake, Officer Marshall. Tread carefully, Mr. Wright, or you might wind up being the one making the mistake. Now then, let's have another look at the video. Show us this incriminating evidence of the witness. Yeah, so there's Meekin. And it's this next one. It's been opened. Finally it works. Bring our attention back to the security camera. Is a mistake. I'm afraid you'll soon not forget, Officer Marshall. The days are short in Texas, and so are our tempers. Could you sum up what you have to say in 8 words or less, viewer? Very well. That's 2. You can clearly be seen in this video. That's 10 in total. Although that's probably what they're counting. Exactly 8 words. Not bad, partner. The key lies in a certain locker shown in the video. That locker with the white cloth sticking out. That was the witnesses, I believe. Now then, let's rewind the video a bit. You can rewind faster than this from this game. I believe in you. Oh, the white cloth. It's gone. What's the meaning of this, Officer Marshall? When the crime took place, the white cloth wasn't there. Then it suddenly appeared. There's only one explanation. Officer Marshall, you were in the evidence room at the time of the crime. What's more, you opened your locker when the camera was turned away. Order! Order! It would seem that's the only... Hold your horses. Sorry, partner, but you got the wrong man. So what if my locker was opened? That doesn't mean I'm the one who opened it. The murderer needed to hide something, so he opened a locker and stuck it in. It's not my fault he happened to choose mine. Why is everyone staring at me like I'm a wanted man? This guy isn't just playing dumb. He really doesn't know. I hate to rain on your parade, but you're the only person who can open that particular locker. Oh yeah? I call your bluff. You say I open that locker? Now prove it. So I'm assuming this is where I present the print. I can't save. I mean, that's the only thing we've got. You can talk the talk, alright, but you got a long ways to go before you can walk the walk. Mr. Wright, I think I could prove this one. Sorry, Let me save! Oh. Revolver only holds 5 bullets. Questions, how many of you got left? Say hope in that locker? Prove it. Oh, am I meant to present this one? Only the assigned detective's prints can open it. Fingerprint sensor? We talked about this earlier today. The lockers can only be opened by the detectives they belong to. What kind of crazy talk is this? Well, Detective Gumshoe did mention something about this. In any case, the locks aren't that obvious. There are even some people on the force that don't know about the fingerprint locks. So, Sheriff, what do you have to say in 8 words or fewer? I only got 1 word for you, partner. No. That was 9. Clearly can't count. Order! 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 Witness! Explain yourself! This is a joke. It's the worst I've ever heard. I assure you this is no joke, Officer Marshall. Please tell us what you were doing in the evidence room at the time of the crime. Ole! Please answer the question! Was he now a bullfighter? That's alright, Officer Marshall. I believe we can figure the rest out from here. We can? Have a look at these floor plans. There's no place for someone to hide in the evidence room. Yet Officer Meekins didn't see Officer Marshall. If that's so, then where was the witness? Seems Mr. Wright has an answer. That's right. The only possible conclusion. He was the one dressed as Goodman. Well then, let's hear it. Where was Officer Marshall at the time of the crime? Officer Marshall was standing right here. There? But that's where the victim, Detective Goodman, was. Correct. Unless the man wasn't Detective Goodman. I believe the victim in the video is Officer Marshall. It was you dressed up like Detective Goodman. But that's preposterous. Officer Meekins witnessed the detective at the crime scene. Once he saw the man's face, he'd know for sure. But he didn't get a look at the face. May I point out, though, that Officer Meekins did not know Detective Goodman. He also said he didn't get a good look at the face. He also testified about the man's reaction when confronted. When I entered the evidence room, I asked him to show his card, sir. Yes, and how did Detective Goodman respond? He suddenly pulled a knife on me. Something about the officer's story puzzled me. If the man had his ID card, why didn't he just show it? Yes, he would have needed it to enter the evidence room, so he must have been carrying it. The answer is simple.